Most men are afraid to discover who they truly are. A lot of men find themselves in cycles of self sabotage, of starting new habits, starting new disciplines, starting new morning routines, being motivated for like 2 weeks and then falling off every single time. And the truth of the matter is, they're afraid to discover who they truly are. The weight of failing over and over and over again is self betrayal. And every single time he betrays himself, he tells himself the same story. Oh, I just need more discipline. Oh, I need to lock in. And when he gets disciplined, he relapses like a crack addict. He burns out, not because he's incapable or incompetent, but because he's attached so much meaning to what it means to be disciplined. You see, men become disciplined to gain a certain outcome out of their life. Of course, like why else would we discipline ourselves? Why else would we live a certain way, you know? But the problem is that he feels like he has to keep it together. He doesn't feel like he's doing it because that's just who he is. So he finds himself burning out. He finds himself dealing with all these doubts and fears about who he actually is, never recognizing that he's doing the work the right way, but he's trying to skip steps. He's trying to skip the step of figuring out who he is. One of my favorite scenes from one of my favorite movies, Kung Fu Panda, ironically, um, Po, the main character, the panda, and y'all motherfuckers should have watched this already. This shit came out like 2009. All right. So I'm not even going to give you a spoiler alert. Well, the whole time he trains, in Kung Fu, he was a nobody, and he trains in Kung Fu, gets trained by his masters. He was doubted by everybody. And he finally, you know, um, gets the title of being the Dragon Warrior, right? And really, this is what it is to be a man. He opens the Dragon Warrior scroll thinking that he's gonna get a new technique or a new secret that's gonna make him much more powerful. And when he opens the scroll, it's a reflection of him. The scroll is a reflection of himself. And the reason that they set it up this way was so that he could realize that he was chasing a title to feel like he was the Dragon Warrior, rather actually being the Dragon Warrior. And this is exactly the path of a man. Many ambitious men get stuck in trying to be him by gaining things in their life. Be the man that they say they are by defining themselves by what they don't have or what they do have. And when this happens, this creates a unstable foundation as a man. You've built your entire identity on what you don't have or what you do have. So when you succeed, you feel like the man. But then when you're on the mountaintop, there's a gap. There's a sense of feeling like a fraud. Because what you begin to realize is that no matter how much shit you have, no matter how many wins, how many accomplishments, how much praise you get, you still feel like a fraud. You still feel fake. You still feel like you're holding it together, and you think that the pressure that you had on yourself was going to finally go away, but you find out it actually doubles. You realize the pressure doubled because now you actually have to perform being this man all the time instead of actually expressing the man that you are. You've been living this self improvement rat race trying to be him, trying to be the best version of yourself. But notice what the words I use: trying. You're just not him. You don't express him. And the point of the Kung Fu Panda scroll take was to show you guys that you have to define who the fuck you are. The reason in the movie the scroll was a reflection was to show the Kung Fu Panda, the Dragon Warrior, that he's the Dragon Warrior because that's who he is. The power always came from within and never came from anything else. And when you realize this as a man and you become self validated, self defined, meaning you choose who you choose who you are and operate out of the spirit of truth, you will finally feel like the same man in every single room. Because I'm sure some of you guys fucking perform. You guys perform. You guys are one dude at the gym, this intense, serious dude who could fucking lock in and has all these amazing feats. But then you fucking go into work, your coworkers bully you, you shrink up under pressure, you shrink up under authority, and you know that people aren't better than you, but for whatever reason, the way you show up says otherwise. The way you shows up, it almost seems like they are. It almost seems like you show up like the average man. And you know you're not the average man because you're competent, you're ambitious, you're disciplined, but you shrink up around women, you shrink up around people. You are always stopping your authority. And the reason being is that you haven't realized that you are the man. You haven't looked yourself in the mirror and recognized who you are. Most men are afraid to discover themselves because they're afraid that they're not going to be enough, which is why they live the cycle of start and stop. Because if they fail, quote unquote, what does that say about him? So he'd rather not know. He'd rather live a lie. He'd rather betray himself daily until he becomes bitter, until he starts blaming the world for why he never became everything he said he could be, for always holding back, for always shrinking himself. You know what's worse is that you're an ambitious man and you know you have the power. You're going to be in a fucking situation where you're a manager, you're a leader in your department. Maybe you do sales. Maybe you're an entrepreneur who's not fulfilled with his business because it's not his real passion. You did everything you can to chase the money so you could feel like a man instead of being a man. Ain't that some shit, huh? And that's really a curse, to get everything you want in your life and still feel like a fucking fraud. Still feel like there's a gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Most men are afraid to discover who they truly are because of the weight of responsibility of having to be themselves. You see, you're not afraid to be great. You're afraid to be fully seen because something that us ambitious men have in common is being misunderstood because we have high standards for ourselves. We have a high level of self belief. Our self belief drives us, it puts us apart, it has us speaking with conviction. It gets people to wonder, why the fuck does this guy believe in himself so much? Why is he so special? And what you'll find to be the truth is that the people closest to you will be the ones who tell you that you're doing too much. Oh, you're doing too much. Oh, I think you just need to chill out. Ah, nah, you're trying too hard. Not understanding that shit doesn't happen natural. Shit doesn't happen easy for men like us. We have to go out and get it because the way we're wired, we're conquerors. So we have to move forward. We have to build that momentum and move forward. And we've inherently understood this since we were kids, which is why we've always known we're meant for so much more, right? And this is something that I've had to deal with all my life, all my life. Not understanding that the people around me, yes, they loved me, but them telling me I'm too much, my standards are too high, I'm doing too much, was in part that I made it uncomfortable for them, was in part that my ambition, my drive, they couldn't understand it. And people's natural inclination is to hold another person back. Sometimes it's envy, but sometimes it's so they think that they're telling you what's best. And you have to be able to use discernment to see if what they're saying is true, or they're projecting their own limiting beliefs on you. Or worse, they're projecting their envy on you, and they want to keep you small, and they want to keep you shrunken. Your fear of being seen as the man is what keeps you from recognizing yourself. Because if you recognize yourself, if you begin to realize who you are, that's a threat to your current identity. That's a threat to who you are. And on a subconscious level, you understand that, which is why every time you break through, you find yourself relapsing back to baseline, back to who you used to be. Because who you used to be is much safer than being fully exposed, fully out there, walking in your authority as a man, because now there's no more going back. And you delude yourself. You walk, you walk half, half, you walk with half authority. You don't get, you might not get disrespected by people, but you're never able to take charge, take command over your own life like you want to. So you always fall short of who you know you can be. This is the reality. This is why ambitious men are scared to discover themselves, because the weight of being fully exposed, fully seen by the world is too much for them to handle. So they cope. They'd rather not know. They betray themselves, or even worse, they see a measure of success that they're not happy with. And the world tells them that they should be happy with it. But they still know that they're not. That it was a lie. That money makes the man instead of man makes money. Skills bring confidence to a man, and that's not true. A man has to have self-belief so he could be confident in all areas of his life. A man has to plant his own flowers, because most men that are ambitious, who betrayed themselves, who betrayed the power that they have inside themselves, are the ones who will be the most underappreciated, inconsistent, and bitter, because they betrayed all the potential they had inside themselves and became exactly what they feared, which is being the average man and not being seen at all by anybody. Which is why the start stop cycle exists for this man in the first place, because a part of him is afraid to fully be seen for who he truly is, so he shrinks himself. And when he shrinks himself, he doesn't realize that he's creating his own cycles. When he realizes he's shrinking, he shames himself, reinforcing that he's a man who betrays himself. He's a man who shrinks under pressure, when that's not true at all. He's a man who downplays himself, because recognizing who he truly is will require him to be fully seen. So his mind plays the trick on him and keeps him exactly where he's at right now, loyal to the current version of himself.